Hello. This video will be a little bit short. I'm just going to explain the NGXS solutions I came up with for reactivity in NGXS. So let's get started. There's not actually very much that I did. Zoom in. Okay. It's pretty similar actually to NGRx, what I did there, except it was harder. It was harder because it was classes instead of props like objects. So this was interesting. I didn't know that you could do this. This is how you type an action, by the way, or an object or a class input, or I'm not exactly sure, but it works. I'm just going to show you the API. All right. So there's a difference here. Also, I think I'm going to call this facade because even though that's already like a thing that people have and it's like an injectable, I don't care. That is, it's basically what it is. It is, I think people would like it more if I called it facade rather than convenience object. I think people would like it more. It's store definitely they wouldn't like because store is it's already used for the global store. So I'm gonna go ahead. Yeah. I kept these uppercase because it's close enough. Why bother? It is the name of the action. Don't really need to worry about changing it. So here's the difference. With NGRx, I was able to, let's see, I propagated the changes, although we still haven't done that with NGXS, but anyway, I was able to import all the selectors because they were exported all together. With NGXS, these selectors are part of the state file, right? So actually, either way, the original state file has the state changes and the selectors. So is there a way to grab just the static properties off of a class? I think there might be. If that's possible, then this will get rid of the need for this. Basically creating new things, new names for the selectors. So let me see. So this, I made it so you just add a $sign at the end. That's what it maps as. And it's type safe and everything. So, and it works. Yeah, I don't think I'm forgetting anything. So, you know what? While you're watching, well, let's just compare first what I have now to what I had for NGRx. So, just going back and forth, I created this action type to just for I don't know. It doesn't do much, as you can see. So that is different, but if I move down to here, let's see what else is different. So as you can see, I had to be more specific with the function here because, was it because selectors? Yeah, because the return type is selections and dispatches, and this needed to be more specific because selections was any, and it was like confusing them for some reason. So I had to make this more specific. Other than that, what else do we have? Well, construction parameters, that's how you get the parameters from the constructor instead of a function. And I had to stick with 0, just the first one, because an object, you can have an observable emit an object But to have that observable emit a list of construction parameters was like, does it have to be an array type then? I think between the two, I think it'd make more sense to just define one object for the payload. So I changed this, so in the adapter thing, I changed this to be a single object instead of, I think it wasn't this before. Yeah, payload. Yeah, I made it called payload. This is actually what the project I worked on at Zima. This is what they did. The dev shop that originally made the code base. They like doing it like this. This doesn't look saved, formatted. Yeah, okay. So yeah, payload. That's the drawback of doing this approach. You have to have it like this, and that entails its own entire thing. So like having its own type nested in there. But it's not that different. It's like you're gonna have public index. I mean, yeah, let's compare right now. This is at column, I can't see that here. Doesn't say how many are selected. Remember that position. Actually, we will just go back and forth. So we got public number, and then we got comma public new color string. And yeah, that sucks, but okay, so here, that's like barely different. You know, it's not that much extra code. It is here, I think, because instead of just destructuring index and new color, you have to destructure with this stuff. So there we go. Yeah, so it is a little more, but on the other hand, I can show you the code totals. The difference was, so the NGXS before, it was 251 lines of code. With this, where we have the observables on the other side of the actions that they will trigger, 203 lines of code. So that is 20% smaller, 80% the amount of code. And that is a big deal in my opinion. That is overall a huge win. So remember, like, you used to have methods and all these things, and then like the using function calls, and that was already to make things more reactive. This is as reactive as you can get, but this will technically count as an imperative thing because this isn't defined in the state file. So anyway, so I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. Still, NgRx is 178 lines of code for the final one, so it's still 25 extra lines. Then Akita, right now it's at 193. I bet if I can figure that out, I should be able to. It'll just go between ELF, which is 156, and NGRX, which is 178. So it'll go somewhere in between there. So I basically just shifted all the extra lines down a little bit, wherever they went. That's the diff, yeah. So this will go down to about here. State up stays the same. So I squished basically all of this into this range instead. And NGX component store, that is now 136. So that's going to be about like right here, I think. So I mean, state adapt is still a fair amount below second place, but still, I think that's pretty good. Yeah, that's pretty good, and that makes the difference not as interesting, but still, that's totally fine. It'll still be notable how minimal NGRX is, or state adapt is, as well as the fact that this, and this are not fully, well, they don't have selectors. That's the thing with these three. They don't have selectors. Elf kind of has Redux DevTools support. And they are reactive. So the bottom four can be fully reactive, but no selectors and weak or no DevTools support. And then the top three can't be fully reactive, no matter what. Which is unfortunate. I thought it was going to be different. I thought NGRx was going to be like awesome and reactive, but the fundamental limitation is that you can't co-locate your state definition over time with state. Like it can't be part of the state definition. And I mean, it's kind of loose with these three because they're in a class and they're kind of calling this state. But it's close enough, I would say. Close enough. All right. So that's what I did for NGXS. And this file, let's see. Any other? Well, just slight differences, like the selector name gets a $sign at the end. That's 58 lines of code, so it's a little more complicated. Whoa, actually. Oh yeah, because NGRx I get rid of select, and so I guess NGRx is slightly more complicated overall. But yeah, so that's the drawback with NGXS. Just make sure your actions just have a single payload property, and it doesn't have to be named payload, but whatever it is, that's what's going to be emitted by the observable here. And other than that, I don't think there's anything. Oh, I wanted to see if I could get selectors from the object, from the class object. That would be awesome. That'd be awesome. And then actually, what I would do is I'd take this function and change it to just taking the class and have it grab the static properties off. So let me see if I can do that. I'm going to pause and look up this stuff for a minute. I don't know if I can do this with TypeScript, but I think I can. Actually, these are all different states anyway. Well, yeah, and they've got the function on them, so you kind of have to call that to get the actual selector. So you can't just grab the static properties. I wonder why you have to call this. It's kind of weird. Let's look at that. Favorite 7 states up here. Oh, because it's not actually defining it. So you could actually do static selector equals here and call the function here. And then it'd be a static property on here of the same type. So if that's a limitation, or if that makes it doable, then maybe that's worth it, because then I don't have to define all these again. So I'd basically be doing this, but on the object itself. So maybe I should try that. You have to merge them anyway because they're from different things. With NGRx, they're not together anyway. They're just exported individually, so that's easy to figure out. With Akita, they'll also be kind of like this. So I wonder if this is going to end up being less code than... I wonder if NGRx is going to end up being less code than Akita as well. It's possible. Just trying to think of what if you spread, what happens when you spread the class? Let me see if I can. Does that even, I mean, it could work. Oh, okay, we got some weird stuff here. Uh-oh. Factory. Yeah, because right. It's the injectable modifies it. If I got rid of injectable, it'd get a bunch of errors, but let's just try it. Oh, there's still this decorator. Let's see what happens then. Well, there are no static properties on it, but yeah, didn't think so. Let's see. Oh yeah, color state. Can I do this? Yeah, I didn't think so. It would be different. Memorize function. So, I mean that. So you'd have to come up with a new name, which does kind of suck. Yeah, this isn't. I don't like it. Because there's no reason to do that. It's already part of it. You just have to do this. The reason it's a concern is because I wanted to pass it in here or whatever. And that should not. I mean, state is already good by itself. It'd just be one more asterisk like, oh, also you have to make sure that if you have a meta selector, you declare it as a static property on the child as well. And make sure that it's a property and not not having to be accessed like this. So I do not mind this at all. Yeah, and it's better to define it like this because if you didn't, it would just be like it'd make this sprawl like crazy. This function call. So I mean, this looks better, and this is confusing. It's better to have it nested or not nested, and maybe it's better to do the same for this. Maybe I should define these above, but I don't think I will. It's not that big of a deal. I don't do it here, I don't think, so I do. Wait. Then maybe this should be in line as well. That would reduce the lines of code, and if I'm doing that for NGXS, so which one do I like better? I like this better, honestly. But this is a single line. Why? Oh, oops. Why? Well, it's because why have I still have that open? It's because I don't need to name them. In the other case, if I'm only using it in one place, maybe I should do it here, but then I'd have to go and update all these things. But that shouldn't be an excuse. Maybe I should just do it anyway. Well, in state adapt, I define it as its own thing. Like, it made a lot more sense here because I had to do two source on it. And at that point, it just gets crazy. I mean, it's one argument here. So, I mean, that's 4 lines of code. This would make it, 4 lines still. But it is more confusing, honestly, in my opinion. Because there's not an object key on that side. But just trying to figure out what is better and fair. I think NGXS, I actually need to define it above. I don't know. Let's see. We're at 60 lines. This would get rid of 9, 10 lines, and then add 6 lines. If I did this in line, one should I do? But I mean, with state adapt, even, this is a rare situation. If you look at the complex one, then it is an object, and then at this point, maybe it doesn't look so bad to have this inline, right? I think it probably does. For a single one, it doesn't. But I'm just thinking like the future. If you have an array, you can't define it inline. And yeah, I'm not used to defining sources inline in the object. So what should I do? I think I should change NGXS. It's already different, and it's already kind of crammed with these things. But I mean, it'd be adding this, and then it'd make this simpler. Kind of. I like this rainbow pattern where it's like favorite, dislike, neutral, favorite, dislike, neutral, favorite, dislike, neutral. I don't, but it's one component. I don't know. It kind of makes sense. It could be more spread out if it was a more complex feature. But you can't have it unless you open an array and then have a bunch of observables here. It's not going to be, you're not going to define them inline here either. I could see that becoming a huge one giant function call. So I don't really like that. So does this mean I'm going to officially change to this? Let's just see. Let's just look at it. I'm going to just copy these. I don't need to do that. And then let's see. Yeah, I'll handle it here. Okay, that's a single line, so this isn't gonna work. How can I do this? It doesn't matter. I'm gonna erase one at a time. Yep. Nothing after, so. What? What's the deal? Oh, right. Oh. Maybe that's another reason I had it inline. Because with NgRx, it has to be like this. With the other ones, it doesn't. With this, it doesn't. With NGXS, because it's just one thing. It's not an object with colors as the property. And that doesn't look too bad. I wouldn't. It did look too claustrophobic with two long lines next to each other, but is this what we're gonna do? Or maybe the point goes to it because, or NGXS, because this is simpler after all. The one line, it does seem, I don't know, I don't like repetition in general, and there's repetition here, and in the other one, I mean, this would be just a single service call, so this is kind of fluff. Maybe I should have made a service for each of these, just to make the comparison more concentrated on the actual differences. That probably would have been smart. but I'm not the smartest guy. So anyway, this definitely makes sense for NGRx. This definitely makes sense for state adapt. Does this make sense? I'm going to say it doesn't matter that much. And I don't think you care at all about this. It's just me trying to figure out how to pit these against each other and each in their best light. And I don't know, there's something messy about this though. But whatever. It's not complicated. It's really not complicated. So, I mean, I could have just done of this pipe delay. Should I try that? Then I'd go back here and change this probably of pipe delay. It's not that different. It'd be like using map 2, which I think is deprecated, which sucks, but it's not a very interesting operator anyway. So anyway, so yeah, this is the thing. This is how it's going to be. All right. Let's go ahead and make it inline. And yeah, points to NGXS for, I guess, having the limitation of payload as part of the action. Just a single value being emitted instead of a full object. All right. Yeah, that was the issue, because with NGRx, I wanted to. It was okay to emit an object or a single value because that was everything. With NGXS, the observable just emitted a single value, and that couldn't be a list. So anyway, I already went through that kind of, and I don't think I clarified it even any more than it was already clear. So anyway, so this went pretty okay. I think it's a win for NGXS personally. I think it reduced 20% of the code, and this is as close as it's gonna get to reactivity. I'm gonna look at the comparison between this and state adapt. We got set for neutral colors and set all to black over in NGXS. Wait, where am I doing the I didn't wire up. Okay, what's going on here? Where's the initial state? Oh, I forgot to put this back. There we go. Oh, right. It was an action that just became available. So no state change needed, or no observable mapping here needed. With NGX, I think is the same. Yeah. So because that's an action, so in state adapt, when you see the an action that's used in multiple stores, that's just going to be dispatched directly, imperatively in the code, in the template. With state adapt, it has to be laid out like this. And then set isn't namespaced here. It has to be here by the action. What I'm gonna do is I think I'm gonna convert some projects from NGXS to reactive NGXS, is what I'm gonna call it. And then I'm going to convert that to state adapt. I think this will be a step in a good direction. I think it might be easier to convert this to state adapt than what it was before with all the methods and everything. Yeah, for sure it will be. Just a little bit. So, especially with like the facade here, it'll be called a store in state adapt. Yeah, it's actually interesting. Let's compare the templates. Move that over temporarily And what's up with why is the for loop up there? Oh, that is like the same number of characters. This is a little longer. Okay. Oops. Yeah, and that's more complicated as well because it's... Why didn't I make the payload an array, like a tuple? That could have been more minimal. It wouldn't have saved any lines of code in the template, so it doesn't actually matter. It does look simpler. Anyway, other than that, they do look very similar. This is state adapt. Facade.blackout, blackout.next. Yeah. Anyway, that's it. Yeah. More to come, but I think that was fine. All right. Thanks for watching. See you later.